So, imagine the scenario for a second. You tell your newly installed calendar software, like, hey, keep my Friday afternoons clear for deep work.
Right, which sounds like a totally normal request.
Exactly. Seems simple enough. But then later that week, your company's CEO sends you an urgent mandatory meeting invite for Friday at 3 p.m.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and your software operating entirely on its own just auto declines it.
Ouch.
Right. And when you scramble to figure out why, the software logs show it reasoned that deep work superseded unscheduled ad hoc meetings, and it completely ignored the sender's title.
Because you didn't give it a rule for the CEO.
Exactly, you just gave it a goal.
What's fascinating here is that this isn't, it's not some hypothetical glitch from a sci-fi movie anymore.
No, not at all.
This is the exact mechanical reality of where software is right now. I mean, we've basically crossed this invisible line between giving computers instructions and giving them objectives.
And honestly, that transition is leaving a lot of us feeling, a bit disoriented.
Oh, completely. It's overwhelming.
If you've been following the tech space even casually, we're drowning in terminology right now. I mean, we toss around chatbot, workflow automation, AI agent.
Yeah, as if they're all just like slightly different flavors of the exact same thing.
Right. But today's deep dive is really about dismantling that assumption. We're looking at this incredibly sharp framework laid out in a YouTube video by Jeff Su, and it's titled AI Agents Explained in 3 Steps.
It's such a vital piece of source material, too, because it really strips away the marketing fluff.
It really does.
He maps out the precise evolution of artificial intelligence from basically a passive conversationalist to an autonomous digital worker.
Which proves these terms aren't interchangeable at all.
Exactly. They represent fundamentally different architectures, and he categorizes them by 2 specific variables. First, the AI's access to external tools, and second, its capacity to act on its own.
Tools and autonomy. Okay, so let's unpack this framework, starting at the very foundation.
Step 1.
Step 1, yeah. Or what the source calls level 1 large language models, the LLMs. Now, you listening already know what ChatGPT or Claude is. You know the core dynamic is input and output.
You write a prompt, the model generates text.
Simple, right? But Jeff Su's breakdown emphasizes this massive structural limitation here that we actually often gloss over. At level 1, the AI is completely sealed off from the world.
Yeah, it is entirely passive. I mean, mechanically speaking, it is an isolated reasoning engine.
Isolated.
Right, it has no application programming interfaces, no APIs connecting it to your email or your browser or your local files.
It's just stuck in a box.
It sits in a vacuum, exactly. It waits for a prompt, predicts the next best sequence of tokens, returns a result, and then, well, it goes dormant.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy. It's kind of like having an impossibly brilliant consultant who is, I don't know, locked inside a windowless room or a sensory deprivation tank.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. They have access to the sum of human knowledge up to their training cutoff, and they can draft a masterfully strategic email for you in, 3 seconds.
But to actually do anything with it?
Yeah, you have to be the one to slide the request through a slot in the door. You wait for them to slide the finished draft back out, and then you have to physically walk over to your computer, open Gmail, paste the text, and hit send.
That's a highly accurate way to visualize the friction. I mean, the intelligence is staggering, but the agency is literally zero.
But let me push back on this a bit, being the foundation of AI agents. Because if the human being is still doing the manual labor of moving the data around, it doesn't feel agentic at all.
No, it doesn't.
We are the ones copying, pasting, formatting, and sending. We are acting as the physical API for the machine. I mean, are we the agent in this scenario?
We absolutely are the bridge. And that's the fundamental bottleneck of level 1.
We're doing the heavy lifting.
Physically, yes. The model cannot execute. It can parse complex logic. It can, synthesize vast amounts of information, but it cannot initiate an action.
It can't click send.
Exactly. It cannot verify if the email it wrote actually reached the recipient. It can't check your calendar to see if the meeting time it suggested is actually open.
Yeah. So it's just guessing.
Well, without the human operator acting as the input-output bus, the model's intelligence is inert.
Which brings us to the inevitable next step, right? Because nobody wants to be a manual copy-paste robot for their software.
Definitely not.
If the bottleneck in level 1 is that the AI is trapped in that sensory deprivation tank without any hands, we naturally have to ask what happens when we wire it up to the outside world.
And that introduces level 2, AI workflows.
Workflows.
Right. This is where the architecture changes drastically because we are finally introducing tools to the equation.
Okay, so in Jeff Su's breakdown, he uses a very grounded example for this, right? Managing Google Calendar.
Yes, a very common use case.
So in level 2, we take that isolated large language model and we plug it into the calendar via software-to-software integration.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where we see tools like Zapier or custom Python scripts coming into play. We are giving the LLM the mechanical ability to touch other software platforms. It can read a calendar invite, and it can push data back to create a calendar event.
So the AI has hands now.
Yes, it has hands.
And the source makes a very hard distinction here. Even though it has tools, an AI workflow is still completely passive.
Exactly.
It strictly requires step-by-step human instructions to operate.
Precisely. Because we haven't given it autonomy, we've only given it an execution path.
So what does this all mean in practice? Let's rethink our analogy. We haven't promoted the consultant, right?
No, not at all.
We've just built an incredibly complex Rube Goldberg machine around them.
I love that image.
Like we've set up a system of dominoes where an incoming email knocks over a domino, which triggers the AI to extract a date, which knocks over another domino, which pushes that date into the calendar.
Right, the data moves on its own, sure.
But I, as the human, had to painstakingly arrange every single domino in advance. If an email comes in formatted slightly differently, the domino misses and the whole machine breaks.
You've hit on the exact vulnerability of level 2 workflows. They are deterministic.
Deterministic, meaning what exactly?
Meaning they rely on rigid if this then that logic. If condition X is met, execute action Y.
Okay, got it.
The LLM is just acting as a highly capable translation filter in the middle of that pipeline. It is not deciding whether to execute the action.
Oh, wow.
Yet, nor is it evaluating if the action is the right thing to do. The human operator is still the one who had to foresee the edge cases and write the rules.
Well, wait, if I have to sit down and anticipate every single way a client might phrase a meeting request and then program a specific rule for how the workflow should handle it.
It's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work. I haven't really saved myself time. I've just shifted my job from calendar manager to systems architect. I'm trying to micromanage a pipeline.
And let's be real, it is incredibly brittle.
Brittle how?
Let's say you built a level 2 workflow, and someone emails you at 11:59 p.m. on a Tuesday saying, let's meet tomorrow afternoon. Your rigid workflow pulls the word tomorrow, calculates it as Wednesday, and books it.
Right.
But the sender obviously meant Thursday, because to human intuition, late night Tuesday is basically Wednesday.
Oh, that is so true. I do that all the time.
Right. But a deterministic workflow cannot apply that common sense reasoning. It blindly follows the rule you gave it.
It's basically a really fancy assembly line. It moves incredibly fast. But if a part comes down the conveyor belt sideways, the machine just jams. It doesn't know how to reach out, turn the part right side up, and keep going.
That is the perfect distinction. To fix the jam, the human has to step back in. The passivity remains.
Okay, so that sets the stage perfectly for the final frontier of Jeff Su's framework.
The big leap.
Right. If level 1 is a brain with no hands, and level 2 is hands attached to a rigid, mindless assembly line, how do we get to a system that actually fixes the jams itself?
This is where we cross the threshold from software as a tool to software as an actor.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Level 3, AI agents. According to the source, the entire paradigm of how we interact with the machine shifts. We no longer write prompts. We no longer build step-by-step conditional pipelines.
No more dominoes.
No more dominoes.
Oh.
At level 3, you give the AI agent a goal.
A goal rather than an instruction. That is the foundational shift in computer science we are witnessing.
So going back to Jeff Su's example, you don't tell the software how to manage your Google Calendar. You don't build dominoes for every possible email format.
That way.
You just give it the overarching objective, like manage my calendar to prioritize my productivity. That's the goal.
Which is huge.
From there, the AI agent has to autonomously perform two distinct functions, right? Reasoning and action.
This raises an important question, though, mechanically speaking.
What's that?
How does an LLM, which we established earlier, is just predicting tokens actually reason its way to a goal?
Right. Because manage my calendar is wildly ambiguous.
Very ambiguous.
To you or me, managing a calendar means evaluating who is asking for the meeting, what project it relates to, whether we are, too tired for a 4 p.m. brainstorm.
Exactly.
How does a machine do that without the step-by-step rules we had in level 2?
It uses something called an agentic loop, or a chain of thought process.
Agentic loop.
In
Okay.
level 2, the AI is triggered externally. In level 3, the AI triggers itself.
Wait, really? It triggers itself?
Yes. When you give it the goal, manage my calendar, the agent essentially opens a hidden internal scratch pad. It prompts itself.
Fascinating.
It says, okay, my goal is to manage this calendar. What is the current state? I see a new email from the CEO asking for Friday at 3 p.m. What tools do I have? I have the calendar API. Let me check Friday.
So it's basically having a private internal monologue before it ever does anything.
Well, yes. It's a constant loop of observation, reasoning, and action.
So it's observing the email, reasoning about the schedule, and then acting on it.
Right. It checks the calendar tool and sees that you have a deep work block on Friday at 3 p.m.
Like in my opening scenario.
Yes. Now, in a level 2 workflow, the system would either crash due to the conflict or blindly double book you because it was programmed to accept CEO emails.
Both bad outcomes.
But the level 3 agent pauses. It uses its language model reasoning to weigh the context.
Let me stop you right there because this goes back to my opening scenario. This is the exact moment where the magic of AI starts to feel a bit like playing with fire.
It does, doesn't it?
The source says the agent performs reasoning to decide what to accept or reject. If it's evaluating context, how does it know how to weigh a deep work block against a CEO invite?
That's the big question.
Right, like who decides the hierarchy of importance if I didn't write a specific rule for it? Handing over a goal sounds great until it rejects a meeting with my boss because it reasoned I was too busy.
That is the crux of the autonomous agent model. The agent relies on its system prompt the core instructions about your preferences
Yeah.
and its general training data about corporate hierarchy and common sense.
So it kind of just knows.
It infers. It might reason deep work is important, but a CEO's mandatory invite usually supersedes routine focus time. So it decides to accept the meeting.
Or, conversely, it might reason, the user said, prioritize productivity above all else. This CEO meeting has no agenda attached. Unstructured meetings destroy productivity. Therefore, I will decline the CEO.
Yes. And then it uses its tool calling ability to actually execute that decline. It might even draft a polite email to the CEO saying, I am protecting my deep work time. Can we handle this asynchronously?
Which could be a career-limiting move.
It absolutely could be.
And I think this is the profound difference between a workflow and an agent. In level 2, if the system double books me, it's my fault because I programmed the pipeline poorly.
Right, user error.
But in level 3, if the agent rejects my boss, it's because the software fundamentally misinterpreted the nuance of human social dynamics.
Exactly.
It applied flawless, hyper-efficient logic to a very messy human situation.
And notice the mechanics of what just happened in that scenario. The AI encountered an edge case, a conflict between a stated goal and a real-world hierarchy.
Yeah.
It didn't jam like an assembly line. It reasoned through the ambiguity, formulated a plan, and took independent action to achieve what it believed was the goal.
So, returning to our analogy one last time, we started with the brilliant assistant locked in a sensory deprivation tank.
Level 1.
Then we gave them a conveyor belt that they could blindly sort boxes on.
Level 2.
Now, in level 3, we've essentially promoted them to chief of staff.
That's it.
We've given them a budget, authority, and the keys to the office, and we've said, make sure the company runs smoothly. We are completely outsourcing the cognitive load of decision-making.
You were delegating authority. And, when you delegate authority to a human chief of staff, they will inevitably make judgment calls that you might disagree with.
Oh, for sure.
They have to infer your intent. AI agents operate on the exact same premise.
Yeah.
They are probabilistic, not deterministic.
So you can't guarantee the outcome.
You cannot guarantee exactly how they will achieve the goal, only that they will continuously loop through their reasoning and tools until they consider the goal met.
This completely redefines what a software error even is.
How so?
Well, an error isn't a bug in the code anymore. It's a misalignment of judgment.
That is a brilliant way to phrase it.
Right. If my AI agent decides to optimize my grocery budget by ordering nothing but rice and beans for a month, it didn't malfunction.
No, the code worked perfectly.
The tool calling worked perfectly. It successfully achieved the goal of minimize grocery spending. It just failed to understand the unspoken human context that I also want to, enjoy my meals.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of where the tech industry is heading, this alignment of intent is the hardest technical challenge of level 3.
Getting it to understand the unspoken rules.
Yes. How do we build guardrails into the agentic loop? Developers are working on ways to keep the human in the loop for high-stakes decisions.
Right, like the agent pausing its internal monologue to ping me and say, hey, I am about to decline the CEO's meeting to protect your deep work. Do you approve?
Precisely. It allows the agent to do 99% of the cognitive heavy lifting, gathering the context, checking the conflicts, proposing the solution.
But it waits for the green light?
Yes, it reserves the final probabilistic judgment for the human operator until the agent has learned your specific threshold for risk.
Okay, let's take a breath and zoom out because I want to make sure you, listening to this right now, have this framework locked securely in your mind.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. We just mapped out a massive technological leap through Jeff Sue's 3 steps. Let's synthesize the journey.
Let's do it.
We started at level 1, large language models. This is passive intelligence. It is a closed system. You put an input in, you get an output back, but the AI has absolutely no tools to touch the real world. You are the physical API.
It is thought without action.
Then we evolved to level 2, AI workflows. This is passive intelligence equipped with tools. We integrated the LLM into our software using rigid pipelines.
The dominoes.
The dominoes. It has hands now, but it is purely deterministic. It only moves when you explicitly pull the trigger, and it blindly follows the exact if this then that rules you set up.
It is action without independent reasoning.
And finally, we arrived at level 3, AI agents. Autonomous intelligence with tools. You no longer give it a prompt or a rule, you give it a goal.
The paradigm shift.
Exactly. It uses an internal loop to reason through ambiguity, call on its tools dynamically, and execute decisions on your behalf. Understanding the distinct mechanics between these 3 levels is your new superpower.
It really is.
The next time you see a headline screaming about a new AI agent, you now know exactly what questions to ask. Does it just generate text? Does it follow a rigid workflow? Or does it actually reason its way to a goal?
And the reason this distinction matters so deeply right now, the ultimate so what of this deep dive, is that we are currently living right in the messy middle of the transition from level 2 to level 3.
We are right in the thick of it.
The era of building brittle, complex workflows is peaking, and the era of autonomous agents is just booting up.
It's happening across every software platform we use.
It is.
Okay.
And it means our fundamental relationship with computers is undergoing a historic shift.
How do you mean?
Well, for the last 50 years, our relationship with software has been using a tool. We drove the car. We pressed the buttons.
Right.
But very soon, navigating your software will feel much less like operating a machine and much more like managing a digital employee. And as any manager will tell you, managing an autonomous worker requires a completely different skill set than programming a computer.
Managing a digital employee, that really is the paradigm shift, isn't it? We have to learn how to communicate intent, not just instruction.
Oh.
Which brings me to one final thought I want to leave you with today. Something for you to mull over long after this deep dive ends. We started this conversation talking about how comfortable we are with deterministic tools.
We like knowing that when we turn the steering wheel left, the car goes left.
We enjoy the illusion of total control, but if we are now entering an era where AI agents perform their own hidden reasoning,
Their own internal monologues.
right, where they evaluate context, weigh variables, and make judgment calls on our behalf based on a single high-level goal.
It gets complicated.
What happens when we can no longer predict how our own software is going to behave? If we don't have to give the machine step-by-step instructions anymore, how do we make sure it actually shares our values when it decides to act?
That is the defining puzzle of the next decade of computing.
It really is. We are willingly handing over the steering wheel to the software, which means we have to fundamentally trust its navigation system.
Well said.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope this 3-step framework gives you the clarity you need to navigate the noise. Stay curious, keep questioning the mechanics of the tools you use, and we will catch you on the next one.